Welcome to this new Flight Simulator update movie. In this movie we're gonna look at the latest Aircraft and Avionics beta version, which was released already 3 days ago, but I didn't have time to record a video earlier. So let's have a look at what has changed. Well, a lot, right? So it's a preview update, right? So it could be that there are still some issues in it, but it updates the avionics and the aircraft, both the Cessna Citation CJ4, the Dair TBM 930, and the Cessna Citation Longitude. Keep in mind that some of the aircrafts are part of the premium package, right? So, or even the premium deluxe package. So you might not have all the aircrafts, and of course we'll only update those aircrafts which you currently have. What they state is, okay, hey, the goal is to upgrade other key premium deluxe planes throughout the next year. So that's good to see. For those who have the premium deluxe packages, expect some more updates. And what has been updated in this package? Well, it's the Garmin G3000 and the Garmin G5000 avionics suites, as well as the GNS 430W and the GNS 530W. And of course, there are several bug fixes, right? So how can you get it? Well, if you want to participate in the beta, you need to go to the Xbox Insider Hub, right? So let me show you how to go there. So this is the Xbox Insider Hub, and the Insider Hub that will be a continuous program. In the past, they said, okay, hey, after a full version was released, like a sim update was released, then you need to leave the beta program. But now they said, okay, hey, you can stay in the beta program, which is great because then you can continuously, I would say, help making Flight Simulator better. Be aware, it's a beta program, so issues might be expected. So be careful with that. So moving back to the release notes, there's nothing much here because where did they hide it? Well, they hide it here, right? Here's the full release notes. So first of all, there are some general bug fixes. For example, for the helicopters, when you use the Legacy flight model, then it wouldn't work correctly. That's now being fixed. I'm not sure why you would use the Legacy flight model, but if you would use it, that's probably due to some other airplanes which are not supporting the modern flight model. There's also a fixed control loss of pitch axis on helicopters with anti-stall assist on, right? So that's not that nice, right? If you anti-stall is to prevent that you're, say, coming into a stall, right? Which will eventually result that you could crash. But in this case, it would you would lose control of the pitch axis, which I would say is also not that nice. They repaired the snow, covering 100% of the airport tarmac and roads. I've seen that in some of the airports. I think last week that was indeed 100% covered by snow. It was a cool sight, but not really realistic. And they fixed the terrain level of detail issue on the Xbox, right? So a specific fix again for the Xbox. Then going to the GNS 430W and the GNS 530W. There are a lot of updates, but be aware that it could conflict with the existing community add-ons, right? So that's why I just showed you also the community or my community folder. So in this case, I've got the working title G3000, right? Remove it because it will conflict with the new update, and do that the same thing for the PMS 50/GNS 530. Although I would say it should work, I would not take the risk, and I'm also going to remove it because it will probably cause some issues, as I've had those also in the past. So what's being fixed for the GNS1? Well, there's a comprehensive visual overhaul for accurate font, symbology, look, operational feel. So they simply updated the look because it didn't look always correct, and that's why I would say the third-party people jumped in because they said, hey, we can do it better, let's make it more realistic. Then they have the advanced flight plan support, including support for complex departure, arrival, and approach procedures, right? So known as the SIDs and the stars. Also some holds, as it looks like, and it has a fix with the correct real unit limitations, no radius to fix heading, or some intercept lags. So that's why when planning a flight in the original GNS 430 and 530, it was not always realistic, but now it is. Then there's full air nav support and simulation. with support of, I would say, the LPV, the LP, the LNAV, VNAV, and plus V vertical guidance during approaches. Really cool. The GPS satellite and SBAS simulations, including orbital mechanics-based real-time satellite positions and accurate SBAS coverage areas. GPS status page. So really looking forward to look into this one a little bit more closer. The VNAV profile calculator, right, which allows you to generate the VNAV or to calculate the VNAV profile. That's now, let's say, working, and it's also associated with some reminders and alerts if you didn't do it. Support for missed approach and missed approach holds. So good to see if you missed the approach, then you can now also use this aircraft to handle that specific process. And there's the full specification accurate ADB ADS/B based traffic avoidance system, right? The traffic avoidance system we already saw it in the larger airliners like the fly-by-wire and some of the third-party airliners. That's where you're coming too close to an aircraft, it will start alerting you, which is really cool to see now also in this aircraft. Then there's a more accurate map symbology and procedure previews, right? Where you can plan your flight, but also preview, okay, hey, what will happen if I will make this change? What will happen to my flight plan? And that, I would say, that sometimes is really useful because you sometimes don't know which approach or which procedure you want to use. And then you can simply preview it and then confirm it. Then there's the keyboard entry mode for waypoints, nav aids, and direct TOS. And that's really easy because now you need to, let's say, move that those nice buttons, right, with the mouse in most cases, or with your joystick in case you're playing with the Xbox. And now they've made it possible to do that with the keyboard. So you can simply hit it and then use your keyboard to type in those, let's say, identifications for the waypoints, nav aids, and the direct TOS. Then there are numerous customization options found on the real unit, such as metrical imperial unit settings and the map data field settings, right? That's more, I would say, customizing the aircraft, how you want to use it, because it allows you now to set those metrics or those units specific for the metric and imperial, and also allows you to customize how your maps are looking on the displays. And then this last one, also a great one, that's the satellite weather overlay support. So it now allows you to, I would say, show the weather on the display. So next question, to which aircrafts has this been added? Well, this is the whole list, right? The Cessna C172 Classic, all the variants, the Robin Cap 10, the Diamond DA40, the Diamond DV 20, the L39, the P51D, and the T6. Those last three are part of the Reno Races package, or you can also buy them as separate airplanes. The other ones are part either of the default flight simulator or the Premium Deluxe package. Then moving on to the Cessna Citation CJ4 and the avionics. What did they do there? Well, also a very long list, as you can see. And you might think, hey, what's resulting in all these changes? Well, that's what those guys from Working Title are doing, right? The Working Title team was, I would say, kind of bought, I think, by Flight Simulator or by Asobo, and they're really helping them, I would say, improving these avionics, and you can now really see the benefits. So for the Citation CJ4, again, a full review or a full update of the visual overhaul for the aircraft itself. They implement the MFD and FMS operation. That was not part of the original CJ4. That's why most people also jump to the CJ4 from Working Title in the past. Again, the advanced flight plan support, right? So you can see some commonalities compared to the previous one. So they were, I think they really worked smart by doing that. So you can now include arcs, radius to fix, intercepts, holds, procedure turns, missed approaches, and custom waypoints, scratch pad entry. A couple of VNAV with, editable constraints, right? So the constraint is, okay, hey, VNAV is, okay, hey, you need to fly at this altitude at a specific waypoint. So they now made it, I would say, editable. And they also coupled the flight path angles, the vertical path smoothing, and the VNAV invalidation conditions. To be honest, I'm not using VNAV a lot. I still need to look into this because it looks like it's really interesting. And even after playing Flight Simulator already for a long time, I simply didn't have time for it yet. Then you've got the advanced autopilot, including movable, lateral and vertical modes, as well as the complex combined arm modes. So the autopilot has changed according to this. This is something I really need to look into what has actually changed. Then the full specification accurate TCAS 2 traffic system, right, which is the traffic avoidance system. There's, I would say, now a new model in it. And the cabin pressurization and complete crew alerting system, right? So in the larger airliners, you already had that alert that you need to pressurize the cabin and make sure that the crew is also pressurized. There's now an alert button in the CJ4. Then the FMS performance calculations for takeoff and landing speeds. That was also part of the larger airliners, like the fly-by-wire. They implemented it in the electronic flight bag or in the flight pad. That's now also included in the CJ4, so you can now do calculations for the takeoff speed and for the landing speed. They integrated the dual engine FADEC systems with N1 mode indications and accurate N1 targets. This is specifically for the engine, right? To see, okay, hey, how's the engine performing and what's the N1 mode? Really useful when you're starting the engines, but also when flying, of course. And there's the independent display options and state saving. So you can, let's say, change the displays and it will keep those states, let's say, during the flight, but based on what I read, it also after the flight, right? So if you start again, it will keep those settings also. I'm not sure if that's always beneficial, to be honest. Then there's the enhanced FMS text MFD display mode, right? The text was not always clear, that's been fixed. And also the keyboard entry for the FMS data entry, which means that you can program your flight with your keyboard by using your keyboard to add the navigation beacons. Then there's the Alpha Hotel Romeo Sierra alignment and startup sequence. That's probably, okay, the starting process of the aircraft. That has now been, let's say, aligned and changed. And there's an improved flight model, right? So improvements to ground and crosswind handling during takeoff and landing. There's the flight control performance accuracy, smoothness and handling. There's the fuel consumption, which is more accurate, which wasn't always the case, and the handling while in ground effect, well, right? That means when you're taxiing, right? So it looks like that some of the pieces we didn't feel, I would say, too realistic, and they made a lot of change to that. And as last thing, they also improved the engine and interior sound effects. So that was a long list, right? Well, we've got another one because the Garmin G3000 and G5000 also received an update. First of all, they made a lot of changes again to the cockpit itself, right? Just like we saw with the other two. Also, they added the advanced flight plan support, like we saw with the GNS 430. And they added the support for custom waypoints, including latitude, longitude, point, bearing, bit distance, and a present point. So you can now add a custom waypoint. So let's say a virtual waypoint by using one of these, I would say, parameters. Then there are two styles of coupled VNAV. There's the simple VNAV, the decent path VNAV only, always targets bottommost altitude constraint. And there's the advanced VNAV. That's the climb constraint and decent VNAV, vertical path smoothing to varied constraint times, editable constraints, and flight path angles. So for this one, that's really the advanced version of VNAV because you can configure a lot more, right? You can configure the varied constraint types, but also, I would say, change those constraints, right? So change those constraints easily by using, let's say, the different options in the aircraft. And of course, also change the flight path angles. Then they implemented our independent PFD and GTC options. So they split those options, and the PFD and MFDs will full split with full split pane support. So what that means is that normally what you could do is they split the screen, and it looks like that they made a change to that one. But again, this is purely based on the release notes, so something which we need to look into. Then there's the support for the full set of context-dependent GTC knob controls, the GPS satellite and SBS simulation. It looks like it's a similar, I would say, most of them are similar to the GNS 430. And there's the comprehensive traffic system implementations, also known as the TCAS, right? So they now made it, okay, Garmin, TIS, TAS, and TCAS too. Also the support for multiple layout styles, including horizontal and vertical GTCs, screen pane options, number of screens, and more. Then there's the support for the custom V-speed box, angle of attack indicator, HSI moving map, timers minimum and bearing points. So again, a lot of changes. And a multitude of customization options, including the measurement units, all saved per screen and our aircraft. And there's the HSRS alignment and startup sequence, which they also changed. Then they made a change for the JavaScript plugin support, right? So if you use JavaScript, I would say JavaScript is one of those programming languages which they use. And they've, I would say, changed a lot, right? There's the engine, instrument and systems display, which has changed. But also there's the custom PFD or MFD displays, custom DTC navigation icons and pages, and the aircraft system simulation and instrument styling. So here it says JavaScript plugin support, which I do think also is related that you can connect external source to it, but that's just a wild guess. I'm not 100% sure about that. Then coming to the, I would say, other aircrafts, right? The specific aircraft fixes. Well, that's also a long list, specifically for the Daihatsu TBM 930 and for the Cessna Citation Longitude. The TBM 930, there's now support and wiring for the new Garmin G3000. And there's the support for the fully coupled base VNAV, as found in the real aircraft, customized and highly accurate EAS, and the system synoptic pages have changed, as well as the customized electrical modeling. For the Citation Longitude, also several changes. The support and wiring for the new G5000, the full support for the advanced VNAV, and several other fixes. And you can see that this list is so long that I won't go to each single item. I would say go to it yourself and have fun with these really nice updates, because it adds a lot of things, right? So if you're a fan of aircrafts which do have either these navigation systems, or are a fan of the TBM 930 or the Cessna Citation Longitude, then have fun with it, because there are a lot of changes and a lot of new instruments which you probably might need to learn. So keep an eye on my channel, because I'm also going to look into these and probably will post some more videos about the new functionalities which have been added. As last one, be aware that there are still some known issues which are also shown below, right? So I'm not going to go to the bug fixes because they're, I'd say, it has all to do with the APU and engine bleed air start under incorrect conditions, which is for the airliners, and the G3000, which had some issues which they now fixed. But if you look at the known issues, there are currently still some known issues, especially with the Xbox Series X. There's a hardware may currently experience a high rate of crashes due to low memory when using the TBM Longitude, so be aware of that. Also, the PFDs on the TBM Longitude will not yet be split on this on this build, and instead will be mirrored, right? So what they said initially, hey, we can split them. Well, you can't yet in this build. And the Longitude APU total time may not be displayed correct value. And there are some icons which are not being displayed correctly. There's the touch and go button on the CJ4 throttle. A handle may be hard or impossible to click for some users. So that's why they are recommending to do a key binding to activate it. And the test display screen on GNS 430 and 530 will not presently move the CDI needles, right? So be aware that there are a lot of things which they have added, but not everything is operational yet. Here ends this video where we looked at the latest update, and this is a new update again, right? It's an aircraft and avionics update, which is, I would say, additional to the sim updates, the city updates as well, right, as the world updates. Another version of updates which will improve Flight Simulator 2020. Here ends this video. I hope you liked it. If you liked it, then consider to use the like button. If you got questions or comments, then feel free to post them in the comment box below. And if you want to stay up to date about new videos I'm posting, then make sure that you're subscribing to my channel. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.